Sorry about that. Sometimes the mic be echoing and doing stuff. Who knows what's going on over here? Hey, shout out to you guys. Good evening. It's Friday. TGIF, bro. It's TGIF. I hope you're living your best life. I woke up this morning. I felt like $1 million. Yeah, we'll talk about the results of the games Thursday. But I felt like $1 million because I looked at Kim and I said, yo, let's go hit the gym. And we put in work, y'all. I feel slim, trim, and everything feels great. I'm feeling, rejuvenated from vacation, and it's football. It's football week 1, and we're doing it. We're doing a great job last night. I did a results show. I hope you watched it on YouTube. I also posted it on Patreon. And the results show, I talked about every game in depth that went down last night, and I talked to you guys about different performers and different things. But I do want to touch on this show. We're going to talk about Friday's matchups, but one thing you guys need to be aware of is we spend the first 2 or 3 weeks learning about these teams and doing our best to adjust on the fly, and then we try and dominate. And obviously Vegas is adjusting as they go, and they're trying to get it right. But what I saw last night from Colorado is Groundhog Day. It's Groundhog Day, bro. If you have never seen the movie Groundhog Day, shout out to Bill Murray. Shout out to Bill Murray. That man learned how to play a piano, eventually began sculpting ice sculptures. That dude was everything. And the premise is it's the same day every single day. Right? You wake up to Sonny and Cher. I got you, babe. You want to break the radio. You want to rob a bank. You want to do a number of things. It's Groundhog Day. It looks the same every single day. No matter what you do, same day is happening. There's a guy that's going to try to sell you life insurance. It looks like the winner's going to keep going. And when I look at Colorado, I see a team that brought in a number of wide receivers. They tried to convince me the wide receiver room is improved and they're upgraded, and they brought in all these superstars, and I don't see it that way. I see Travis Hunter, an NFL caliber wide receiver, and everybody else. And it's just a bunch of beta males. It's a bunch of guys who can't take over the game when it really matters. It's a bunch of role players. Nobody's a real meat eater. Nobody's really doing it like that. And I tried to explain this to you guys. I was assessing talent, assessing rosters in the wide receiver rooms. And when I came across teams like BYU, Baylor, and they returned all their receivers from last year. I'm looking at Iowa State, returning all their production from last year. And I look at those wide receivers. Kansas, Lucas Grimm. Like Luke Grimm, you couldn't tell me anybody at Colorado starting over that guy. No, he's got his spot on the field. And that's my point, is you don't have Power 4 caliber players. You got a superstar, you got a great quarterback, highly accurate. But what I saw is just a whole lot of talking in the offseason about how improved a team is. We got dogs up front, Rico. No, you don't. No, you don't. You couldn't move the ball when you needed to. It's time to ice the game, and you're throwing fades to Little Wester. You're not running the rock with all your running backs and all. No. We saw 2 running backs the whole game, and nobody was getting the yards when they needed to. You're not winning at the offensive line, and this is an FCS level team you're playing. The worst team that you're going to see on your schedule all season long. I'm serious. If they played any of the other teams on your schedule, even Cincinnati, they would be underdogs. And Cincinnati has an A-plus offensive line. Bee's knees offensive line. If you don't believe me, you'll find out firsthand. And a 1,000-yard rusher. Colorado doesn't have a 1,000-yard rusher. They won't get 1,000 yards rushing as a team. Shedeur Sanders is trying to extend plays because the offensive line is not any good. It's not any good. Is it improved? Sure. If you believe that, you're in the Big 12, man. Big 12 is a different caliber of football, a different version of football. It's not the Pac-12. Big 12 is going to hit you in the mouth. 4 yards and a cloud of dust. There are 1,000-yard rushers all over that conference. There are dual-threat quarterbacks all over that conference. And I watch an FCS team put up like 400 yards on you. Where's the improvement? I'm watching linebackers that can't cover. You don't have a Nick Martin. Have you seen Nick Martin at Oklahoma State? Absolute beast in coverage. You don't have that. You just have some guys who are tweeners. Kind of like a safety, kind of like a linebacker. I just don't see it, man. I see a long season. A lot of hoping and praying things go your way. But if you can't cover the spread against an FCS team, good teams find ways to win. They found a way to win. Great teams cover the spread. Great teams dominate and look the part. They didn't look the part. You know who else didn't look the part? North Carolina State. NC State didn't look the part. They had to come back from behind, win. Eventually they dominated. Eventually they got there. Guess what? NC State was playing an FCS team. They're ranked in the top 25, just like North Dakota State. They didn't look that great. Eventually they dominated and got it done. But it didn't look good. It didn't look good. They need to figure that out as well. I was very underwhelmed by both teams, North Dakota State and Colorado. And by the way, for those of you who don't know, I am on the over on a futures bet on both of those teams. There's a ton of haters in this world who think I don't like Colorado. I don't like Colorado fans. I don't like these random-ass Colorado fans. These guys who couldn't point out Boulder on a map. They don't know the difference between Colorado and Wyoming. I promise you. Pull up a map, they couldn't point it out. Never been off their block they live on, but they pretend to be Colorado fans. I had one guy tell me about Jackson State better than ULM. Obviously, he was wrong. They're just out of touch with reality. They don't really know football. They watch channels on YouTube that it's confirmation bias. That's all it is. It's confirmation bias. And they probably don't even know what that is. Confirmation bias. You can sit here and say a fact, if you will, a subjective fact, based upon stereotypes, and it'll be a confirmation bias. I'll give you an example. All women are bad drivers. If you said all women are bad drivers, and you believe that, every time you see somebody doing something dumb in traffic, somebody who can't park their car, first thing you're going to do is check to see, and then you see a woman drive, you go, yup, I told you. All women are bad drivers. It's just confirmation bias. Because if you saw a woman that could actually drive, maybe a NASCAR driver, Danica Patrick, if you saw a woman that could weave in and out of traffic, parallel park, you wouldn't even say she's a good driver. You would just say that's a one-off. Oh, she's an exception to the rule. The rule is they're all bad drivers. Now, I probably lost half the Colorado fans saying that. But now let's apply that to football. Let's apply that to Colorado. They watch 100 channels telling them their team is amazing. They have the best players. They upgraded every roster. You just channel after channel after channel. Primetime groupies. Coach Prime groupies. That's what I just saw in the chat. And they will just constantly find any positive that they can, latch onto it, and disregard anything that proves they're wrong. That proves they're wrong. And I talked about it, man. You brought in transfer offensive linemen that weren't very good on their own team. On their previous team. They all come from failing programs. I've done an in-depth analysis on this. And then you brought in a center in Walker from UConn. You tell me you brought in 4 starters, and he got beat out by someone already on the roster. Do you know how terrible the players on the roster are? But once again, Velcro, Teflon. Anything that cosigns and makes you think one thing, you hang on to it, you believe it. That's the Velcro part. And the Teflon, you just ignore it. Will Shepard, 0 separation last night. Somebody you couldn't believe in, couldn't get a foot in bounds, but you're going to ignore it. And you're going to keep talking about the yards he got at Vandy. One of the worst teams in America. I don't think you guys understand what you're watching. Jimmy Horn put up an insane amount of yards. And then he drops that drag. Wide open. No one around. Because that's what he does. That's why they brought in so many receivers. If they believed in him like that, they wouldn't have brought in a ton of receivers. When you watch teams and they're addressing their needs, they don't bring in a lot of players at certain position groups. They trust what they have. You don't believe me? Maybe study the transfer portal. You look at a team, they're like, nah, we're good. Oklahoma State. Did they bring in a quarterback? Nope. They like their 3,000-yard passer. If they didn't like him, they would have brought in more people. But they didn't. They liked right where they were at. Colorado bringing in everybody because they don't like where they're at. They don't like their players. I saw an offensive line that doesn't get a push, doesn't get a yard when they need to. I saw a defense that looked like Swiss cheese at times. You'll make a play here and there. It's the FCS, bro. You should have been punching them dudes in the mouth, imposing your will. Coach Prime said he's got a bunch of dogs, and they're going to go out and do a bunch of things, and no. Your son is out here, undisciplined football player, never wraps up. Get BJ Green. Like, some of these guys need to be on the field. Some of these guys are better than the players. I don't know what you're doing. I'm letting you know. But you got to play Bentley. You don't have other linebackers. You guys list all the linebackers they got in the transfer portal. They're not on the field because they're not better than what you see on the field. You listed a bunch of them, and that linebacker room is gross. That is not a power 4 linebacker room. It's not. You're going to see one tonight. TCU linebackers. Watch them tonight. If you stay up late, watch TCU linebackers. They're amazing. Absolutely amazing. Neither Colorado linebacker could start. They couldn't start at, they couldn't start at Kansas, TCU, Iowa State, Baylor. I don't think they could start at any other Big 12 school. They couldn't start at BYU. They could start at Houston. Maybe. Didn't Blanton come over? Somebody came over from ULM, leading tackler. Yeah, I don't know, man. It just looked bad. It looked bad. Shout out to Shador doing what he does. And shout out to Travis Hunter doing what he does. But other than that, man, don't get excited about numbers like that, by the way. Let me be clear. I saw a guy say, this is the greatest duo in college football history. Shador Sanders and Travis Hunter. And I'm just like, where are you guys coming from? Andre Ware had a receiver named Hazard. Go look up their numbers. I dare you. Go look up their numbers. Randy Moss scored a touchdown in every game he ever played in. I think he had 26 touchdowns and 28 touchdowns back-to-back seasons. Something like that. You shitting me, bro? Randy Moss was in the FCS, the 1AA, and making it to New York his first year after coming over. Like, what are you guys talking about? Michael Crabtree, Graham Harrell, dude threw for over 5,000 yards. And they did it against number 1 Texas. They went out there and beat number 1 Texas. You can go find it on YouTube. Look at Crabtree's stats. 1,900 yards receiving. Graham Harrell. These guys are doing it against the best teams in America. And you want to talk about 2 guys that just tore up North Dakota State without their best player. You guys can't even keep it in perspective. Don't even understand. Anytime somebody tells me this is the greatest duo in college football history, the first thing out of my mouth is, where were you on 9/11? Where were you on 9/11? You're in your daddy's nutsack, bro. You guys are children. You haven't seen enough football to know what you're even looking at. Football didn't start in 2019 with LSU. It's embarrassing. You guys don't know all the best duos. Like, you just can't talk like this, man. It's crazy. Thank you for being here. Shout out to all the MVPs. If you didn't know, you want to be an MVP, go to Patreon, search RicoKnows. Patreon's a website or an app, whatever you want to do. Search RicoKnows. Get there. We have over 4,000 members. Come find out why we have 4,000 members. I'm not talking about followers. I'm not talking about YouTube subscribers. Members. People a part of something. Come find out why. I'll change your life. You change mine. Talk to an MVP. Get on the Discord server. You won't regret it. Oh, by the way, why should you do it? Because here's all the recent posts. I already did the Fridays, props, parlays, and locks for the night. I already did the charts for pops and parlays, the chart for Friday. And as soon as I'm done with this, as soon as I'm done with the games tonight, we start Saturday. I get up at 6 a.m. and I get ready for Saturday. Start the live stream at 9 a.m. tomorrow morning for MVPs only. There's the results video. This is last night's live stream, last night's charts. An early video started that 5 days ago, telling everybody what to bet on. Early charts, and that was week 0. Everything's here for you MVPs. Everything's here for you guys who want to know who's winning the games. When I go over these games and I tell you that's MVP data, you know, it's because I can't talk to you about it. By the way, if you're watching this show right now, you're on TikTok. Shout out to TikTok. Move on over to YouTube. Get your questions in. I will answer them. Get your comments in. We're doing an abbreviated show today because we have a game starting at 6. So I started a little early. It's 5 o'clock. It's 5 o'clock right now. So once again, I was going to go over every single result. I already did this in a video earlier this morning. Go watch the results video. I already talked about every single one of these games. But now I'm going to talk about the games for tonight. Before I do that, though, I want to make sure I get to the chat, answer your guys' questions, and then I also want to go over the news. So let's go over the news here. First and foremost, Skylar Locklear being the starter for UTEP. Skylar Locklear, I talked about this very briefly yesterday, and I just want to touch on it again. They play Nebraska. I don't know what the spread is right now. I'm going to look. But I want you to know this is not the old UTEP team you're used to. This is a UTEP team that's actually pretty damn good. I'm excited to see this UTEP team. And Skylar Locklear was a backup quarterback at Austin Peay. He transferred in. He came with his coaching staff. He knows all the receivers. He has good rapport with them. They've all worked really hard at this. I believe in this game. I believe in this kid. I really do. And they have a great running back. UTEP is different, man. It's not the same team you're used to. Scotty Walden, new head coach, young guy, doing his thing. Max Johnson carted off the field Thursday. By the way, he had surgery today. He's out for the season. Brad Johnson's son, shout out to Brad Johnson, Super Bowl champion, Tampa Bay Buccaneers. He has 2 kids. He has Max here at quarterback. He's got another son at tight end. Both of them played at Oconee County here in Georgia. Remember seeing them in the state title game. Shout out to Max Johnson, former starting quarterback at LSU. Came out, did not play great. They found a way to win. Shout out to North Carolina. By the way, I predicted they would win because I did an evaluation of talent, and I knew that they had the better team. Shout out to all the homers of Minnesota who just can't handle it. It is life. You shank the field goal. That's what's going to happen. Shout out to Theo Weiss. Did not play in the second half on Thursday. And then this is a big one right here. This is a big deal, and it's unfortunate. But apparently Rodney Hammond declared ineligible for 2024 season. The only way that really happens is academics, from what I can think of. Like, they haven't given me a reason. I don't want to speculate. But he's ineligible for the 2024 season. He's not playing. This is a man who's been the starting running back at Pitt since last year, was part of a committee back when Israel Abanikanda. What the hell's wrong with me? I can't say one of my favorite running backs' names. That's crazy. But Rodney Hammond's been at Pitt for a very long time. And I thought it was a little interesting. Last couple of days, Pitt announced the starting running back was Dez, right? So Desmond Reed, transfer from Western Carolina, showing up, and he's the starting running back. Desmond Reed is nice. Showed you a video of him yesterday in yesterday's episode. Showed you some highlights where I told you he was a hidden gem. I identified him as one of the top transfers this offseason. And now he's the starting running back for Pitt. And now Pitt doesn't have him anymore. And what that means is Pitt doesn't have Rodney Hammond anymore. It doesn't mean that Desmond Reed's going to get all the carries because he's not an every down back. So there will be other Pitt running backs. They actually have like a senior on the team that's been around for a while. I think he's going to get a lot of carries. His name's escaping me right now, but if I see, let me go pull up the depth chart and I'll tell you his name. Give me a second here, because I watched film on him and I shouldn't do that. I shouldn't. I'll just pull up the stats. Let me see, who was it? Not Flemster, Daniel Carter, no. Lloyd, no. What am I tripping on? Oh, Derek Davis, that's it. So Derek Davis is going to be the backup running back, but I think Derek Davis, although he only got 11 carries in 2022 and 2 carries last year, Derek Davis is going to get some carries now. This is going to be your guy. And look, I'm pulling this shit out of left field, bro. I just went to the leading rushers list, and I'm picking a guy, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5th running back on the list, and I'm telling you, he's the next man up. That's my assessment of talent. That's how I get down, y'all. And I know I sound crazy, but this is the guy I'd be excited about getting increased reps. They're going to lean upon Derek Davis more so than a lot of the other guys. Derek Davis, Desmond Reed. Desmond Reed, obviously the starter. Derek Davis, first one off the bench for sure. And he's a bigger back. He's going to be used in the goal line, things like that. So please pay attention if you get a prop bet for Derek Davis. There's a reason I believe in that guy. Khalil Dinkins doesn't really matter. He's not the starter. Max is out for the year. Okay, so we got all the updates there. So before I go into these games, I'll go to the chat. Get your questions and comments in the chat, and we'll go from there. Okay? Thank you guys for being here. Andrew Moreland. I don't know if you're watching this show, Andrew, but thank you for being an MVP. I appreciate you. You look like a brand new MVP. I hope you made your way to the Discord server. Get on the Discord server. And while you're there, connect. It's easy to do from YouTube. Easy to do from YouTube. You just go to your profile and go to settings and you're in. If I can show you guys the Discord server, it's right here. If you go down to your settings, I don't know how it looks on your phone, but if you do it on a desktop, it's super easy. You go to settings and you go to connections. And under connections, you'll connect to the server. And then you'll turn green if you're an MVP. You'll turn green if you're an MVP. It's a great feeling. See all these guys in here in chat? They're green. They're green all day. This man says, Vegas Content Gap said, did I miss Wisconsin? Vegas Content Gap, shout out to you for being an MVP. You definitely missed Wisconsin because it's in the MVP only video. It's not in this video. That's a fact. It's not in this video. They were added to the chart. MVP level play, MVP level play, MVP level play, MVP. There are only 2 games I'm going to talk about in this podcast. Everything else is MVP level data. Go become an MVP. And you'll know how I feel about these games in depth. Watch the live stream. It's already posted on the server. And what I'm talking about here is if you go over here and you look, this is Friday's props, parlays, and locks. It has a lock. That's MVPs. I went for 49 minutes talking about all the games tonight. It's important you watch that. I talk about every prop bet you need to make. I go over every single sports book. Every parlay, every prop, every lock, everything is in that video. This is how MVPs make their money. Trust. That's why it's like that. So, yes, you did miss my breakdown on Wisconsin because I don't talk about MVP level locks on this free episode. This is a free podcast for the general public. All right, first question of the night. Copious Highlight says, who is one Kent State receiver who can get 3 catches against Pitt? Bro, what is that? What are we doing? Are we trying to stump me? Who can get 3 catches? So first thing I'm going to say is Kent State has a new starting quarterback. Remember that old Tukowski guy got benched. So I don't even know what Kenny Burns is going to do as far as quarterbacks go. But they have a guy named Devin, and his last name's a K. I don't know his name. Devin K, and he's the new starting quarterback. Redshirt sophomore. So that's number 1. They do return 2 of their top receivers from last year. So their number 1 statistical receiver is this guy named Krishan. And Krishan's a redshirt sophomore. So Krishan's the number 1 receiver. I can tell you that Number 2, McCray. He's the guy that you should be looking forward to. And then they have a graduate senior who's been around for like 5 years. I think he can get 3 catches as well. Maybe. I wouldn't be betting on something like this. But McCray and Floria or some shit. Lucas Floria. Those are the only 2 guys I can possibly believe in at the quarterback position. I mean, at the wide receiver position. Those are the only 2. I don't know. They have another transfer who's in the starting lineup, but I don't know who he is. Like, I don't know him like that. It's Kent State, bro. When they play a weekday game, I will really do an in-depth look at them. But for me, I know their leading receivers from last year, Luke Floria, the slot receiver, and McCray, the sophomore, redshirt sophomore. Those 2 guys really stick out to me on tape. Number 2 and the slot receiver. I'd give them 3 receptions. I don't know if it's against Pitt, though. 3 in the MAC. Copious highlights with the obscure question to start the show. This is not Stump the Swamp. Let's not do that again, okay? I'm just saying. I know Colorado makes bettors mad, but their games are such a blast to watch just because they're so sloppy. It's fun. Yikes. Shout out to you. Devontae Adams Burner says, Rico, how do you like Stanford versus TCU's defense? So I'll talk about the game, and I don't, it's not on the chart, so I can talk about it freely. And what I'll tell you is that according to my talent assessment, I don't think this is a very competitive game. I think TCU is a much better team than Stanford. I think Stanford has a decent front 7. It's kind of like a Wake Forest front 7, if you will. But Stanford is so... They just lack depth in certain skill positions. Like Emmett Mosley is my favorite true freshman in America. I talked about Emmett Mosley all offseason. I immediately, as soon as I saw his tape for the very first time, I said, oh my God, this guy's elite. I made a video about him on TikTok probably 6 months ago, 7 months ago, 8 months ago, something like that, really long time ago. And I've been on Emmett Mosley for a while. I did a Hidden Gems video on him on YouTube a couple months ago, maybe 2. And I still think he's great. I think he's the hidden gem of all of him and obviously Brown coming over from Mater Dei. And I love these guys. Elijah Brown, been the starting quarterback at Mater Dei for the last 4 years. So I know every player in the transfer portal class. I know every player in the recruiting class. These guys should not be in your starting lineup. Like, they shouldn't. You should have enough depth and better players on your team and development and all this. And I'm looking at a Stanford team who lost to Sacramento State last year. I'm looking at a Stanford team that doesn't quite get it done when they need to. And on the flip side, TCU had a bad year, but when I evaluated TCU, I was pleasantly surprised. I can remember being pleasantly surprised when I went over TCU's offense. So I believe in Hoover in his second year as a starting quarterback. Running back room looks a little banged up, and I'm not too impressed with the running back room, although TCU always has good running backs. They just hired a new running backs coach, Jimmy Smith, came over from Arkansas. Very good running backs coach. Know him really well, or at least I'm aware of his career really well. I don't know him personally. But I think TCU has really good wide receivers. J.P. Richardson looks like he's going to sell insurance, and he's not. He's going to take your lunch money. He's a beast, transferring in from Oklahoma State a couple years ago. And I just think they rebuilt their offensive line via the transfer portal. And they did well. They did well. Brockenhammer, what's his name? Brockmeyer. The kid from Alabama. Him and his brother retired, but yeah, they come back home to Texas. Either way, TCU looks pretty good to me. And I just think that they're much better than Stanford. So that's how I feel about it. I don't like Stanford against the TCU defense. TCU's leaders on defense, they have really good linebackers, right? Team's leading tackler returning from last year at linebacker, got a transfer linebacker in from Cal, one of the best. Caleb, when you see him, his hyphenated name. And then they have a safety that's leading the team, like he's a captain. They have leaders at every echelon, and they have studs. The only thing they did was they did lose a defensive tackle to Oklahoma in the transfer portal. That sucks. But they got Drake Dabney in the transfer portal at tight end. That's a stud tight end transferring in from Baylor. I'm telling you, man, TCU is much better than Stanford, in my assessment. And let me say this, and I want to be clear. I have the rankings, and I did the rankings episodes last week. If you go to the live tab on YouTube, you can see all my evaluation of every single team in my rankings. And I did my top 25, but it goes all the way down to 134 teams rankings. I've done it in the episodes. On the live tab, I'll pull this up for you guys. Let me go to... Let me show you guys something while we're here. If you go to YouTube and you go to the homepage, RicoKnows, you go to my channel and you click on the live tab. If you go in here like this, if you scroll down just a little bit, You will see where I ranked every defense in America. You will see where I ranked every offense in America. Obviously, I had a top 25 right here, group of 5 only, and then the preseason top 25, all the teams. All of these videos are based on my assessment of the talent at these schools. Not media talking, not anything else, but me sitting down, clean slate, and evaluating the talent of the players. And I'm talking about live bets right here, right? So I'm talking about this because those rankings that so many casual fans, so many homers just disregarded me and told me my rankings aren't accurate. Based upon those rankings, that's how I got the predictions right last night. So last night, there were some coin flip games like North Carolina, Minnesota. Based upon my rankings and my assessment of talent, I had North Carolina winning that game. And I told MVPs, it's on the chart because I think North Carolina is a better team. You want to know another game like that? Coastal Carolina, Jacksonville State. So many people believed in Jacksonville State. And I said, guys, I assessed the talent on this team. I don't think they're as good as Coastal Carolina. Well, Rico, who's good at Coastal Carolina? I don't care. It doesn't matter. I don't care what you're talking about. I have assessed Coastal Carolina, and they're better than Jacksonville State, according to my metrics. According to my talent chart, let me show you the rankings. This is what I do for MVPs. And I said, here we go. And that's why, oh, by the way, those are the first 2 games that I had FBS versus FBS, and it was so close we had to go to the rankings chart to make a determination. And I'm 2-0. 2-0. So what I'm telling you is tonight's games, you don't have to do that chart here. You don't have to use the chart here. It's pretty simple. You don't have to use the chart here. I think that Michigan State's far better than Florida Atlantic. You don't have to use the chart here. You don't have to use it here. Wisconsin is much better than Western Michigan. And then you have it here. Now, when I say much better, far better, you guys need to understand, I'm not going to tell you whether or not they're covering the spread in these games. That's for MVPs and MVPs only. So don't think I'm missing when I'm saying certain things. But this particular game, if you look at my rankings chart and my assessment of talent, TCU is much better than Stanford. About 10 spots in the rankings. TCU is better than Stanford. Stanford's not terrible, but I'm telling you, TCU feels like a bounce back year. I like TCU to beat Stanford in this game. Staying up to watch it too. We'll be on the live stream. We're going to start at 6 with this Army game against Lehigh. And then at 7, we're going to shift over to Florida Atlantic, Michigan State, or Elon, Duke, because these matter to me. MVPs, these are all your locks right here. These 4 games are on the chart. I have a bet in these games of some sort. A lot of prop bets, a lot of everything. Please, become an MVP. Go watch the video. But TCU Stanford right here is not anything we have any money on. We're just going to ride it out at the end of the night. We do have some prop bets in this game. But I think TCU is better than Stanford. There you go. Primetime groupie, shout out to you, Bendejo. Thank you for being here. NC State has a transfer quarterback, running back, wide receiver, tight end. They have to do work. Yeah, and they brought in studs. Don't get it twisted. Their numbers were pretty damn sweet at the end of the night. But you were playing an FCS team. So I don't get too excited about it. But yes, they have a number of players. At the end of the day, Concepcion looks like a stud. He looks like an amazing player. Hopefully you found a bunch of parts. Justin Jolly showing up. Get him some playing time. Let him do his thing. Shout out to Juice Vereen. I made a video on him 2 years ago, and he got in the game. I saw him, so congratulations. UGA at Bama bring in new folks every year. So does NFL teams. Come on, man. But not mad at you for trying to make money the best way you can, Larry Williams. What do you mean? Larry Williams, you have no clue what you're talking about. I'm going to help you out. You just talked about UGA and Bama. You know what they do best is they recruit and evaluate talent better than other teams. That's why the new faces you see on that team have been in the program for 3 to 4 years. They're not bringing in transfers to be starters for them for the most part. They're bringing in dudes who've been in the program and moving them to the starting position. But they're not bringing in random strangers from the group of 5. There's a reason they don't need to. There's not many players better than their bench in the transfer portal. The NFL, that's not even equivalent. It's not even a thing. Talking about the NFL, there's not a team in the world starting all rookies. There's nobody starting all rookies, bro. It's not happening. You're talking about professionals. with professional scheme. And I guarantee you, those teams that win Super Bowls are derived of a nucleus that was drafted or has been in that organization for a number of years. And that might include the coaches. The continuity is what matters. If you want to win a championship, and this goes for Georgia, this goes for Bama, you need continuity at head coach, offensive coordinator, defensive coordinator, and starting quarterback. Those are the four. If you have 3 out of the 4, you have a shot. If you don't have 3 out of the 4 from the previous year, you're not winning the national title. Go study it. A continuity that is required is head coach, defensive coordinator, offensive coordinator, quarterback. And you need 3 of those to win the national title. If you don't have 3 out of the 4, you're not winning the national title. Georgia, last year, only 2 out of 4. Didn't even get to the playoffs. And it's every year. Go look. There's only been like 4 times in the last 25 years that you've won the national title without the continuity. You need the continuity factor. It's more important than any blue chip factor. You guys don't study shit like this. You guys just casual ass fans, just coming here talking. What happened to the amazing linebackers from TCU last year? It had nothing to do with linebackers at TCU last year. They had one good linebacker and one that wasn't good. They're bringing in the leading tackler from Cal. TCU's issue last year was they ran a 3-3-5 defense with 3 defensive linemen. It makes it very difficult to stop the run. Another issue with TCU is their starting quarterback went down for the year, and they had to bring in Hoover to be the starting quarterback. And this is a guy that wasn't prepared to start. So they had a lot of lost possessions. Please, do not come in here and just start popping off, Larry Williams. I'm not in here to debate with you. I'm here to educate you. If you don't want to learn about sports, leave the show. But if you come in here to debate me in sports, you're wasting your fucking time. You have no chance to have a conversation with me. I'm going to tell you that the first person who loses in a debate is the person who learns something. If we're going back and forth and we're talking about a topic, the first person to learn something lost because you weren't prepared for that conversation. You cannot have this conversation with me. Please don't go there. You're wasting your energy. That well on football was pretty solid, Rico. I don't know what that means. Shout out to you, Terrell Green. TCU spread. I'm not one to believe in the spread. If it's not on the chart, I don't believe in the spread. You can take that for what it means. You can take Stanford all you want. I'm not into Stanford like that. The spread itself, I feel like Vegas has it right. I wouldn't bet on it. It doesn't feel like a blatant miss by Vegas, if I'm being real. Can UConn beat Maryland? They play one another, so it's possible, but I wouldn't bet on it. It is possible. They're playing each other. I wouldn't bet on it. Who's the best running back at UConn? The answer is yes. They have a ton of great running backs. It's who you want. They got 3 of them very solid. I like Rosa. I like to watch the way he runs. Thoughts on Cal spread tomorrow? They win, but David's is good, and spread is over 20 now. Victor K, I can tell you that game is not on the chart for specific reasons. I really respect UC Davis and what they have. Cal's going to score points, but if you really respect it, don't worry about the spread. Just go over to the over at that point. If you think UC Davis is going to score on Cal and be competitive and at least put up some points, we know Cal's going to score. Don't you dare get it twisted. Cal's going to score like crazy. So Cal's going to score. UC Davis, if you think they're good, then go look at the over. It's probably over 60. I don't know. I haven't looked at it. But I know it's not on the chart for a couple of reasons. I respect UC Davis as well. So maybe you should take UC Davis, but I wouldn't. I just think Cal can score every possession if they wanted to. Cal has 2 of the best tight ends nobody's talking about. I promise you. Cal's got Jaden Ott at running back. They've got some pieces, man. They're going to put up some points. Shout out to Cal. Who can get 2 catches for West Virginia and a touchdown? Hudson Clement. No, I wouldn't bet on anybody to get 2 catches for West Virginia and a touchdown. I would imagine they're going to try to implement their passing attack, but you're playing Penn State, who is very dominant on defense, and I think West Virginia is going to be doing their best to try to get first downs, and a lot of that's going to do with running the ball. And if they're in the red zone, we're not throwing it at all. Now you're looking at Green keeping it, Jaheim White doing it, or White, doing his thing. You just can't go there. You can't go there. That sounds foolish. You got to play on the Oklahoma game, or can you talk about it? I mean, I can talk about whatever I want. The Oklahoma game is an MVP level conversation. If you're not an MVP, then become one, and you'll know how I feel about that game. You can feel free to go to Patreon or YouTube and go watch the video. It's posted on both platforms. Do you think Stanford will cover the spread? It's not on the chart, and that means I don't feel either team will cover the spread. Like I don't have a pick in that regard, if that makes sense. I think the spread is right where it needs to be. I would never bet on that game. Listen, everybody has such a tendency to want to bet on the most popular game of the day. I don't know what it is. Maybe it's bragging rights, ego, whatever. Like Alabama playing Georgia. Rico, who you got? I'm betting one of them. When you see West Virginia versus Penn State, you should run so far away from that game and have zero desire to bet on it. Zero. And nobody's a scrub. What are you doing? They're both really good teams. Of all the games tonight, what are you doing? Of all the games tonight, they're both very respectable teams. What is the urge to bet on that shit? That doesn't make any sense to me. I'll never understand it. Everybody's just so eager to try to. We do this in UFC all the time. Dudes are putting all their money in the main event. And I'm sitting back going, bro, why are you putting all your money on the main event? Either guy can win. It's a coin flip. What the hell are you doing? Nah, this is why I make all the money in the world in the group of 5. This is why my lock last night was Missouri over Murray State, because I knew Murray State couldn't score. And I knew the spread was 48 points, and I didn't care. 48.5, and I said, take Missouri. If Missouri's playing Alabama, I don't give a shit what the spread is. Enjoy the game. Don't put any juice on that shit. Like, you guys got to really change your point of view. You're not going to win any money. You're not going to be able to do this for a living. I do this for a living. I can't sit around here and make ridiculous claims like that. Oh, do you think Stanford's going to cover the spread? Yeah, I think they're going to cover the spread. No. I just can't have a casual conversation. I got 1,000 people paying me. I shouldn't say 1,000. I have thousands of people waiting for my answer, sitting at the edge of their phone with their fingertips ready to go. I can't just casually give a prediction like that. I don't do that. Who will get 4 catches for New Mexico State and a touchdown? Nobody, Copious. Stop that shit. I don't know what you're doing, Copious, but I can't help you, bro. I know Coastal would win because they were my dynasty team on NCAA 25, and they got stud running backs, and Vasco can run good. Okay, shout out to you, Copious. Stop playing EA Sports, man. It'll get you guys gassed. Stanford free money tonight. There you go. A Wade? You don't have to tell me, bro. Oh, hey, you got a camera. You got a platform. Make a YouTube channel and make a video talking about it, or post a pic on Twitter. If you're right, more people will rock with you. More people will listen. That's all I ever did. Never went anywhere. Never told anybody they were wrong. Never gave my picks anywhere. Went on people's platform, telling them they don't know what they're talking about. Never did that in my life. Turned on my camera, just started talking. And people started listening. And if I was right, more people started listening. And when I got it wrong, they went away. And here we are. Changed my life. It's that simple. Harder than it looks, trust. Try being as accurate. It's very, very difficult. Do you think Michigan is ranked too high this year? Oh, Tyler Rainbold. Based on wins, so I don't know where you plan to rank Michigan. I have them winning 9 games this year, so I don't know where you plan to win them or place them. But they're a pretty good team defensively. I don't think they can compete with other teams that can actually score. It is what it is. What were your thoughts on General Booty at ULM? Haven't rewatched the game. I'll probably rewatch it this week. I have it recorded. I'll go back and rewatch it, but I was actually impressed with ULM's running game. Rushing attack, their running back. But I'm sure General Booty played great. I'll have to go back and watch. But the running back looked exceptional, Dominic. Great look on that Coastal Carolina money line pick. They looked great last night. Yes, they did, Warren Wilkins. Shout out to the MVPs. How do you feel about the Duke matchups versus Elon? That's an MVP level lock. Not talking about it. Favorite player prop for tonight? Big Truss. I can't talk about my favorite player prop for tonight because it's an MVP thing. It's already on the chart. But I would tell you that if I was to give you a player prop that's not on the chart that I believe in, that you can actually do. If we go up here, let me yeah, I can do this. Let's go in here. Let's go look at a player prop that I believe. My favorite player prop for tonight is probably, I mean, I believe Sawchuk's going to go ham. So do what you want with that. Gavin Sawchuk's going to go ham. That's probably my favorite player prop for tonight. Gavin Sawchuk, 2 touchdowns, 100 plus 115. That feels right. Obviously, a number of running backs transferred out of Oklahoma, and he's still there. Should at least get 2 touchdowns. So Gavin Sawchuk plus 115 touchdown. Feels like the best bet for tonight on a prop. On a prop. Feels like good value, and I know he's great. How do I feel about Temple plus 43? MVP level game, I wouldn't talk to you about it unless you're an MVP. Go to the Patreon, go to the Discord server. Okay, but like name one player who will score a touchdown for New Mexico State. Bro, I don't think they will. I don't know what to tell you. Copious. NCAA 25 is how I know Texas State and UNLV got dogs on offense. You should know that from last year. Agree, I have them at 8 to 9 wins. Just don't think they have the offense at all this year. We'll find out. We'll find out. I don't think they're great. All right, so with that, I'm going to talk about these 2 games. I already actually talked about TCU and Stanford. I want to talk to you guys about Lehigh and Army, the other game that's starting at 6 o'clock. First and foremost, Lehigh is not very good, okay? Lehigh's a bad team. They do have a coaching staff that's been together for the last 2 years now, but Lehigh won 2 games last year, 2 or 3 games, as a matter of fact. And Army, although they're not great, I think they're much better than Lehigh. Another thing I want to talk to you guys about is Army's got a running back tonight. And if you start watching him, his name is Kanye Udo. And Kanye Udo does not belong at Army. Kanye Udo does not belong at Army at all. He's too good to be there. I really believe in him. There's no prop bets for him or anything like that. But throughout the season, you're going to see this guy. This was as a freshman last year. Most freshmen don't get to play at Army. You never see them in the starting lineup. So to see Kanye Udo here is pretty exceptional. I don't know if he's going to commit himself to Army and go for his junior and senior year or if he's going to transfer, but that's a special player. I think he can play anywhere. I think he's really, really good. So tonight, I'm going to be excited to watch him. Obviously, Bryson Daly coming back as the starting quarterback, the team's leading rusher. So you got Daly, you got Udo, a 1-2 punch that should just walk right through Lehigh. In my assessment. Are they going to cover this spread? That sounds ridiculous. 32.5 is a daunting number when you have 2 teams with decent rushing attacks. Lehigh also has a running back who's pretty decent. But if I look at this just feels like a big number for me. It really does. But I really want to see Udo do his thing. I'm going to be cheering for him and supporting him, and I believe in that. I already talked about the TCU-Stanford game, rewind to the show, and that'll be a late-time game. All these other games, my assessment of them and everything. MVP. Go to Patreon, become an MVP. That's all I can tell you. And then you'll know who's going to win. You'll know what bets to make. And I'm going to tell you, I have so many props for tonight. It's crazy. The page is full. I literally have over 30 props for tonight that I believe in. Real talk. Thoughts on TCU team total over 34.5. Seems like a pretty big number, Zhang Li. It seems like a big number. If they get to 34.5, that means Stanford's scoring, and they're having to score some more. But it seems like a big number to me. Has the portal hurt Stanford this year with their academic requirements? Dominic, it's the same every single year. Stanford does not allow undergraduate transfers as much as other schools. You have to have been a graduate at another school before you can transfer to Stanford. They do not care about their football program. They are focused on being an academic institution, one of the very best in the globe. They're not making exceptions for that. They just started getting undergraduate transfers, and maybe it's like 1 or 2. It was Gavin, or I'm sorry, the kid from FIU last year who led the team in tackles. Gathan? You know who I'm talking about. Barthadell? Dude, I'm bad with names. The linebacker. And yeah, they're struggling with getting transfers. If they do get transfers, they get them from the Ivy League schools. Not really much impact on the field. Just not the guys you need. No, the way Stanford's going to stay relevant is with talent, like straight up recruiting talent. And they got it right. Elijah Brown, Emmett Mosley, they're finding players out of high school that are highly, highly sought after, and they're going to Stanford. That's awesome. So I think Stanford's definitely the best academic institution in America, or the best school that has a high academic institution. And they have the best players and all that stuff. So they're there, but the portal's always going to hurt them. What I would say is the portal hurt them more 2 years ago. Remember, the portal stole their entire offensive line. 2 of them went to Michigan. 1 went to Oklahoma. Another one went to UCF, who's since now transferred to Virginia, Drake Metcalf. They lost so much talent in the transfer portal, but not this offseason. They didn't lose that much this offseason. They just didn't gain enough. They're young. Give them 2 or 3 years. As long as they don't fire their coach, 2 or 3 years, they'll be straight. Because they're about to have a stud in Elijah. I'm telling you, Stanford's going to be good in about 2 or 3 years if they keep these guys and develop them, especially Emmett Mosley. I think he's special. I'm at my first year at FIU. What should I know about this team this year? Stinky good players and transfers. I made a post about FIU on Twitter probably 3 weeks ago. What you should know is FIU has a very good defense. You probably won't see it all the time. You probably won't notice if they're losing games and all this stuff. Don't get it twisted. Talent, bar for bar, player for player, FIU is maybe top 10 in the group of 5 defensively. Absolute studs. Now, they have 2 running backs that are pretty decent. They just have a terrible quarterback that they need to overcome, and that's Keontae Jenkins. And he had to become a starter last year. He wasn't supposed to be the starter. He wasn't supposed to be the starter, but Grayson James played like shit, so they bring him in and they make him the starter. He played as best he could all year. Did not look good. I hope he learned a lot this offseason and he got better. We're going to find out. But that defense, when I turn on the tape on that defense, FIU impressed me so much. If I can pull up the rankings and show you guys, I'll do this. Transfer portal, yeah. Let's go over here and I'll show you guys something on FIU. Where's Sunbelt? Are they in Conference USA or Sunbelt? They're Conference USA. Look at this. Look at FIU is the 3rd best team for me, talent-wise. 3rd best team in Conference USA. I already told you Jacksonville State wasn't very good. I like UTEP a lot. The rest of these teams look like trash to me. The only one that can really move is Middle Tennessee because they have a senior quarterback that might be good. That 3 at quarterback is good, by the way, for the Conference USA. But FIU, with their competent running backs, bad offensive line, I don't care about none of this. This defense, bro, this defense is a 56. Best defense in the conference. 56 on defense, 97th overall. It's a bad conference, including Liberty. Liberty's bad as well. I watch Liberty on tape. I assess them. They're bad as well. Liberty beats the hell out of all these bums and goes undefeated, and everybody talks about Liberty like they're great. I've really assessed Liberty. They're not good. They're not as good as other group of 5 teams. If they had to play the good group of 5 teams, I don't think they win 9 times out of 10. I really don't. Not the good ones. Look where I have Liberty. I have them the 13th best group of 5 team. 13th best. I think there's a number of group of 5 teams better than them. I have them at 71 overall, Liberty. You go to the MAC. Well, they're better than Northern Illinois. They're better than everybody in the MAC. Go to the American. Liberty, they would be 5th. They'd be 5th. I have them behind Rice, Tulane, South Florida, Memphis. These are great teams. Just ahead of UTSA. Go to the Sun Belt. Liberty, 71. They would be 4th, behind JMU, App State, and Texas State. And I've assessed the rosters, man. And you guys got to listen to me. These rankings are undefeated this year. They're undefeated so far. Accurately predicting the outcome of games. This is it. Argue with me all you want. You'll be wrong. I'm letting you know. So FIU, what you need to know is they have the best defense in Conference USA. The most talented defense is what I should say. They need to put it together on the field. But when I assessed them on tape, I was super impressed with them. thanks for being here tonight, guys. I'm sorry that the show is so short. I actually want to just get ready. I need to eat dinner, and I want to get ready for the game at 6 o'clock. We will be live streaming the game on YouTube, just like this right here. So come join us. You can join in on the chat. There's no better way to watch football than to watch it with me. I provide commentary, provide you analysis, statistical updates, anything you need, and I give live betting advice during the game. I'll tell you what live bets to make, if you believe in the over, the under, the spread, all that other stuff. It's what I do. Behind Rice, nice. Has the portal issue affected Rice like Stanford? I know Rice has smart guy schools. I just saw that question. Dominic, no, Rice did lose 2 of their best players on defense, but they've managed to find talent in other places. Obviously, E.J. Warner just transferred in from Temple, and he's a gunslinger. He can do his thing. Before that, they had J.T. Daniels. They did lose their leading receiver last year in Bradley Rosner, 10-touchdown guy, went to NC State, ended up not even playing there, really. Just sat the bench. But they have good players at Rice. And Rice, I want to tell you, Rice's defense is just as impressive, if not more, than FIU's. And that's why Rice is way up on the chart, if you didn't know. If we go back to the American, and I'm sorry, where is it at? Am I tripping? There it is, Rice. Look at that Rice defense, 62. 62. The only one better is South Florida. That's second best defense in the American. Rice is a really impressive on tape. Really impressive. I remember I do individual evaluations on each player in each position group, and then I come up with my score. And when I looked at the Rice players, I reached out to them on Twitter, reached out to them individually, and let them know I believe in them. And they wrote back to me and said, Mr. Rico knows? Rico knows. That's what they said. Rico knows. No, they said, we've been quietly dominating, working hard, and nobody knows how good we are, but we know. And then the guy wrote to me and he said, hey, man, I'm surprised you saw that. I can't believe you caught on. We're going to be great. I'm like, yeah, I believe in it. We'll see it. I think Rice is going to make a jump, and people don't really remember. Appreciate it. Thanks. Oh, yeah, I forgot about Warner. I'll never forget about E.J. Warner. He's the reason Rice is going to be on point. You'll see. Hey, guys, thanks for watching the show. I'll see you on the live stream. Please, if you're not an MVP, you want to change your life, go to Patreon. Join the movement. You will become an MVP. You'll get all the information you need. You'll get all the bets you need to make. You'll win a ton of money. It's what we do. Last year, against the spread, over 400 games, I was over 60%. That's a true statement. The results are there, posted, by the way. Oh, you guys, hey, Rico, where's all the stats? Where's all the posts? Everything's there. You can see the results. They speak for themselves. Shout out to UFC. We're knocking it out the park in UFC. Whole nother story. And we get back to fights next week. Please, become an MVP. Change your life. Good luck, y'all. Peace.